pleasure for me to be here tonight. My name is Jacobson. I'm the rabbi's brother, his direct younger brother. I came here today from New York with my brother-in-law, Shmuley. Thank God I've been here for every Mitzvah so far, and hopefully for many, many, many more joyous occasions.
Amen.
While I was traveling today, and being that there's no direct flights anymore from New York, so you have plenty of time to do some thinking in the airport and on the plane, I was thinking about tonight's event, about the Zevi turning bar mitzvah. And you have to understand, you have to go back in my head, you have to go back, growing up as children in Brooklyn. We grew up in a Jewish school, Jewish community, amongst all Jewish friends. Really no challenge to anything that many of us living not in a suburb of a Jewish community have. So I was thinking of what's happening here tonight. My brother moved out to Des Moines, Iowa, almost 20 years ago, and built this beautiful, beautiful community with friends. And he built a family. He built a deli, which now he's building again a deli. He's building it bigger. And it brought a thought to my head, which I want to share with you tonight. As we follow the weekly parsha, the last couple of weeks, we're following a very interesting story between Joseph and his brothers, how he gets sold to Egypt as a slave. Then he becomes the king of Egypt, second to the king. Then his brothers come down to Egypt. And the whole story that we're all familiar with. And finally he reveals himself that he's really their brother. And they all hug each other and kiss each other in harmony, brotherly love. And Joseph tells his brothers, come down to Egypt. There's still a big hunger in Israel. Come down to Egypt. You'll be with me. I'm supporting the whole country anyway. You'll be with me. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of Dad. I'll take care of the brothers and sisters and children. And so be it. The whole family, the whole Jewish family that existed then, Jacob and all his sons and their wives and children, come down to Egypt, and they hug each other and kiss each other, and they live together in Egypt under Joseph's watch. And the story goes on to this week's portion, how Jacob learns with his grandchildren, and everything is glory and everything is great in the household of Jacob and his sons. A very strange thing happens in this week's parsha. After all the acquainting and getting to know each other, it's time for Jacob to bless his children and his grandchildren before he passes. And he says, please call my son Joseph and his children, because I want to bless them before I pass away. Joseph brings his sons. Now again, these are the sons that Jacob has been learning with already and got to know them over the last couple of years already. And Joseph brings his sons into the room. Jacob gets up from the bed. He strengthens himself. And he asks a very, very weird question. He asks Joseph, who are these children? Many commentaries jump all over this, and they say, what does this mean? He was learning with them every day. He met Manasseh and Ephraim, those are the two children of Joseph. He learned with them every single day. That's what it says. In fact, when he was sick, those were the children that went to call Joseph. So the commentaries give a lot of expressions and a lot of explanations on this funny statement. But there's one true answer which I think applies to tonight's event. Jacob is asking Joseph, who are these children? How are these children with payas, with tzitzis, They're learning Torah. They're davening. They're like just like any other Jewish child. They weren't brought up in Israel. They weren't brought up under a Jewish community. They were brought up in Egypt. There was no Jews in Egypt. No one. Egypt was considered the lowest country that existed. And this is the place where Joseph raised his family and raised these Jewish boys to be who they were today. So Jacob is not saying who they are as if he doesn't know them. He's asking a question, how is it possible? He's like in wonder to Joseph, how did they turn out to be this way? How did Manasseh and Ephraim turn out to be such good boys? That's the question he's asking. My dear friends and family, let me share with you something. My brother, whose also name is Joseph, left the community where he lived with his dear wife, Chani. They, let me tell you, you probably know them, but I know them a little bit longer. They had many options. I'm sure he's not gonna, has his humble way, but let me tell you from, one-on-one, my brother Yossi, the rabbi, he was top student of his class. Very talented Jewish boy. And when he got married to his dear wife, who has her own credentials, which is already known to everybody, and I'm sure you know, they had many, as I said before, many options, where to go, what to do, how to succeed. And yet, under the guidance of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, they chose to come to Des Moines, Iowa, to raise here their family and their community, and to bring Judaism in a joyous, in a big way, down to Iowa, to share with you what they learned growing up, and to be part and make everybody here and everybody in the whole state of Des Moines, Iowa, Jew and non-Jew, as we see from the activities of Chabad, become one big family. And when you come here tonight, as I've come already to all the bar mitzvahs, from Label and from Zalman and from Mati and now Zevi, and hopefully down the line to all the other simchas, and you see this family that didn't grow up in New York or in the big cities where there's big Jewish communities. You see these boys and these girls that they have the Jewish identity and they're proud of it. And you see and you ask yourself, wow, how did this happen? Where did this come from? How did they stand and look at the challenges that so much easier to go and eat what you want or do what you want, and yet stuck to their Jewish roots in the biggest and strongest way and the most proud way to be here tonight to share with you. He's going to share soon. Zevi's going to share soon with you a speech and a Hasidic thought, and you're going to see all the seeds that were planted in him from his parents and his grandparents, who, for my parents, I want to just say that they couldn't be here tonight for health reasons, but we wish them well and long life. So you see this family, and you come, and you have no other choice but to share in the joy and to share in the simcha that we see here tonight. So mazel tov, and I'm so happy to be here tonight. And I want to wish Zevi all the best. He should grow up to be a shining example to his parents and to his grandparents, to his friends, to his teachers, to his principals, make everybody proud. And we should only share together and come together only on joyous occasions. L'chaim, l'chaim. At this time, I would like to call up Zevi's grandfather, Rabbi Salik, who came all the way from London, him and his Rebbitzin, the Bubby, to be here tonight. We'd like to call him up. And he's going to share with you the Rebbe's blessings, that traditional blessings that the Rebbe gave to all the boys who turned bar mitzvah. He's going to come up here. He's going to read that letter of blessing for all of us.
Baruch Hashem, Brooklyn, New York. Shalom ubracha. B'mayna al ha'ida al derech hikonsel gil mitzvahs. Hine yehirotze me Hashem yisborech Hashem mi ben sholosh esrei lemitzvahs yegadol leben chomesh esrei v'cholu. Kepsak HaMishnah in Ovos Perek Hey, Yosef Hasmoda v'ushkeida b'limud haTorah. B'teres ha'nigla gam b'chein b'teres ha'chasidus v'yehade b'kiyum ha'mitzvahs. V'Hashem yisborach yatzlichu liyos chosid Yerushalayim v'lamdon. B'bracha the Rebbe's chasim. A brief translation of the Rebbe's letter to the Bar Mitzvah is greetings and blessings. In response to the notification about your entry to the age of mitzvahs, may it be God's will that from being 13 and obliged to observe the mitzvahs, you will grow to be 15 and so on, at each age fulfilling your obligations, as set out in the Mishnah in Ovos, chapter 5. May you become increasingly studious and conscientious in your study of Torah, in the revealed teachings of the Torah, and likewise in the teachings of Chassidus. And may you observe the mitzvahs precisely and beautifully. And may God grant you success in all your endeavors to become a chassid, a God-fearing Jew, and a scholar. With blessings, the Rebbe's signature.
You may be seated. It gives me great pleasure to introduce and call up the Bar Mitzvah boy, Zevi, to give, to share with us a couple of thoughts, and followed by the Hasidic Maimer, which he will share with us right after his speech to us. He will continue with the Hasidic Maimer briefly. So please find your seats and give Zevi your utmost attention. Zevi.
Good evening. I am honored to stand here this evening in front of my dear family and friends on my 13th birthday, my bar mitzvah. At the age of 13, one had the full responsibility of all the mitzvahs in the Torah. I have now been putting on my tefillin for 2 months without a bracha every weekday morning, so that when I put on my tefillin tomorrow morning, I will be ready in mind and heart to put on my tefillin with a bracha. I recently read a very touching story that I would like to share with you about tefillin. This story is about a young refugee whose name was Chaim Shapiro. Chaim was a young yeshiva student from Poland when the war broke out. His parents decided that it would be best if he crossed over the border to Russia, hoping for a better life for him. Unfortunately, things for Chaim were very hard, and he spent many years under harsh circumstances. But what really amazed me the most was that throughout all these years, Chaim kept his tefillin with him at all times and was able to put his tefillin on every weekday. One Shabbos, when Chaim was sent on a mission to give over a message to a certain camp, on his way he heard familiar melodies from a distance. As he walked closer, he realized that in the bushes, a man was singing with his eyes closed. As Chaim tiptoed closer, he heard the very known melodies that are sung in every home on Friday night. But then the man in the bushes realized that Chaim was there and became very afraid. His only thoughts were that Chaim was an official and that he had not been caught. Chaim tried to convince the man that he was Jewish too by saying Good Shabbos Yid. The man was still not convinced until Chaim took out the tefillin that he wore hidden around his waist in a sack and showed them to the man. "Tefillin," the man screamed out. Looking up to heaven, he cried, I have been in prison for years. I haven't been able to put on tefillin all this time. Oh, good to me. Finally, I have tefillin in front of me, but it's Shabbos today and I can't even put them on. The man then begged Chaim to tell him where he could find him the next day. The next morning, while Chaim was putting on his own tefillin under his blanket, he felt someone touch him. He was terrified. After all these years, now he has been caught wearing his tefillin. Chaim quickly pulled the tefillin off his head and stuck his head out of his blanket. There stood the man, Reb Nachman. Please let me have the tefillin. Hurry, I don't have too much time. As Chaim stood guard, Reb Nachman quickly climbed into Chaim's bunker and pulled the blanket over his head to put on the tefillin. Chaim soon heard sobbing and put his hand on the blanket, groping for Reb Nachman's mouth to quiet him down. The blanket was soaked with tears. When I put on tefillin, I will think of Chaim and his Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice to put on tefillin in such harsh times. I have had the privilege to be able to stay home and study in the comfort of my home for both my secular and Judaic studies. Unlike my older brothers who are here tonight, Label, who is now learning in Rabbinical College in Morristown, New Jersey, and Zalman, who is learning in Rabbinical College in Montreal, Canada, and Mati, who is in Postville Yeshiva. They all went away from home at a young age to study in Yeshiva. Thanks to the great program that the Chabad Shulchan office in New York started, I, together with my sisters Chaya and Fredi, and in a few years Gabriel Be'ezras Hashem will join too, have been on the online school program studying Chumash, Shulchan Aruch, Talmud, Hasidus, and many other topics with my teachers and classmates from all around the world. As many of you know, my parents moved to Des Moines, Iowa almost 20 years ago. They were sent here as shluchim by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Firstly, I would like to thank them for making such a beautiful bar mitzvah. They both work so hard all the time, so I would like to give them a bracha that they should continue to have good health, lots of nachas from all their children, and that their shluchas should prosper beyond expectations. Amen. Also, thank you to my dear Zevi and Bubby, who traveled in from London, England to share in our simcha. Thank you to my uncles Yerachmiel and Shmuley for coming in too. May we see the ultimate redemption of Mashiach very soon. Amen. Amen. I am now going to say a Hasidic discourse in Yiddish. The pamphlets on